realise until the other day when I did the live that you guys wanted to see some more carnival videos. So today I'm going to go down the car and do a bit of a carnival catch up. So as you can see, our cooker is out again at the moment and our floor's up. We've had a few problems with the floor, but that'll be sorted Monday hopefully. So first I need to go and get all my stuff for going down the cart. So I'm going to go and get my tools from the garage, and although most of the house is clean and tidy now and all done, the garage is our dumping ground. So we have Ryan's dartboard up there. Here is a treadmill that Ryan bought about 2 years ago and so far has used it once as a treadmill and many times as a clothes horse. So this is my carnival cart toolbox. And I'm also going to take down, because I know that they are jigging out at the moment, I'm going to take my jigsaw. That's a blade that my sister gave me. So I think I need to get some new blades actually. I don't know what else they're doing down there, but I'm going to take that down and then we'll see what happens.
On the way down, I'm going to try out this F77 Redtiger dash cam that I've been sent. I've been meaning to get a dash cam for ages and so have my parents, so it's going to be great to try this out. With how the roads are becoming in the UK, I think it's an essential item to have in your vehicle. This was so easy to install and took me less than 10 minutes. And of course, no journey down the cart would be complete on a Sunday morning than listening to Andy Bennett on BBC Radio Somerset.
He once had 20 listeners, now he's got 43. Now Andy Bennett's on the radio, on the BBC.
So these cameras are 4K at the front and 4K at the rear. They have a 5.8 Wi-Fi speed with a 30 frames per second ultra-high frame rate. I think is incredible as it's the same spec as the cameras I use for filming my videos. Didn't know much about camera specs before starting YouTube, but I've had to learn a few bits. The quality of this camera is so high that you can zoom in on number plates and see them really clearly, which is obviously what you would want to see if you're in an accident. You can also choose of a built-in memory of 128 gig or 256 gigabytes, which is a huge amount of storage and means you don't have to buy a memory card. With most cameras, it's a hidden extra cost. So there is a port for a micro SD card for transferring files, but actually I think it's just easier to do it on the app, which you can download on your phone. Because of this eMMC with high read and write speed, it can avoid damage and non-recording at impact. This is what the app looks like, and as you can see it shows GPS of where the dash cam is filming. So can you tell where I'm heading before I go to the cart? It wouldn't be a trip down the cart without going to McDonald's for breakfast. It also has dual HDR and dual Starvis 2 nighttime vision, which means it still records a clear image at night, in bright street lights and with bright sunlight. Cheese and bacon flatbread, hash brown, a toffee latte please. Thank you. You can also hardwire it into the vehicle to give you some extra safety features. The camera has a number of really cool features like voice control, show front camera, show rear camera, and it has an easy to use touchscreen that you can just scroll through. You can choose whether or not you want to record sound, you can choose whether or not you want to record the speedo. There's a number of albums on it, one for your everyday drive, one for when it thinks that you've been in an accident or a bump, and one for photos. There's albums for that on the front camera and on the rear camera. I will pop the link in the description. Thank you. On the way to the cart, we pass the end of Parkway, which is where all the carts line up on Bridgewater Carnival Day. Only 6 months to go and we'll be bringing the cart down here. The cart looks a lot different than my last video on Carnival, which was 6 months ago, where we put the cart away after Glastonbury Carnival, which is the last carnival in the Bridgewater circuit. We have the generator trailer at the front of the shed, then the main cart section itself in the middle, which is now stripped down from all the bulbs, wood, metal, fiberglass and anything else that was on the cart. One of Vagabond's newer members, Mark, is given the floor a sweep underneath the cart. This is to remove any stray sharp objects that may have dropped down when dismantling the cart that could possibly pierce a tyre when we move it. Up the front here is the lorry, or as we call it sometimes the tug, and this is an old Ford Cargo that has been adapted to use as a carnival cart. This was adapted for use in Carnival in 1999 and is still going strong. As you can see, things have been moved and modified to save as much space as possible and give it that unique carnival cart look. Over the next 6 months, this will be built up to make another amazing carnival cart, with professionally drawn up plans ready for the build. You may remember at the end of last year's carnival, we drove the cart in forwards. There are a number of reasons for this, and the main one being that We're all tired after a long carnival season, and because it's Sunday, we just want to go home and have a nice roast dinner. On a couple of years, we have put the cart in backwards, but it's taken a couple of hours longer, and because the cart is so big and built up, it makes it very difficult. And we've found that turning it around once it's stripped down is a lot easier. Today is the day we are turning the cart around, but first I'm going to catch up with Josh.
So once again, you are cart captain.
We're back again, another round.
Ed?
Yeah, a bit more excited this year. We started a bit earlier than what we normally do. Be a bit more well prepared. Be a bit more of an enjoyable end, hopefully.
And the idea is good as well, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of powerful music for the idea, which I think you're one step in the right direction.
In terms of stripping the cart and building it back up, where are we compared to other years?
Got a lot more timber work started than what we normally do, that's for sure. We've got a lot more steel work cut up, just a case of putting it together. But obviously today we're turning it around and then, yeah, away we go, full steam ahead, hopefully.
We're more ahead than normal?
Yeah.
You don't want to say it though, do you?
No, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot.
No, with carnival that can change.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Pretty quickly.
Especially when the sun's out like this. That's basically what I do.
Yeah. Except for you.
Yeah.
To turn the cart around, we need to use a tractor, and Bernie has kindly come down to turn it around for us. This is also the tractor that we hire for the 2 weeks of carnival to pull the generator trailer. The hitch on the tractor can't reach the pin on the back of the generator trailer, so we use a bar to connect the two, and once the handbrake's been taken off on the generator trailer, Bernie can slowly start pulling it out. We now have our own generator mounted on the back of the trailer, but up until a few years ago, we used to hire our generator in. In fact, most clubs did because back then we needed more power, but now all of the bulbs we use are LED, and therefore we can get a much smaller generator. Therefore, we've gone from using a megawatt generator to a 125 kVA. Once Bernie's pulled the generator trailer right out to the fence, he moves the tractor round to the front of the generator where the tow bar is. We connect a strop between the tow bar and the hitch on the tractor, and then Bernie can pull the dolly on the trailer around. We don't have a lot of room outside of the shed to move things around, so we just need to work with what we've got. We need to move the generator right out of the way so that it won't be in the way when we get the rest of it out. But we need to make sure we can access it easily because it will be the first thing that goes back in. Once the generator trailer is unhitched outside, Bernie's straight back in for the cart. Once again, because it's being pulled backwards, we use the bar, as there's not enough room to go straight back onto the pin with the tractor. Once it's all hitched up, Bernie can slowly pull out of the shed. This is the longest and most difficult trailer to get out, so we all keep a watchful eye around the cart for the bits that Bernie can't see. It's all looking good and going really smoothly until Bernie notices that it's slightly drifting to the near side at the back whilst he's pulling forwards, meaning the dolly at the back must be slightly off centre, so they put a strop around the tow bar, and as Bernie creeps forwards, they pull it across, until Bernie gives them the signal that it's running straight. Although Dad keeps hold of the strop and it almost looks like he's walking the cart like a dog. Whilst we're in the middle of taking the cart out, I run back to the tug to turn it on and get the air built up, as this one will be the next thing out.
It's a bit easier to get into it when it's not all built up. But Dad said the keys are here somewhere. Oh, it's in it. So I'm just going to get it started, and the isolation is off, I think. So we have an isolation switch down here. So I'll turn the isolation on, off, and then that's better.
It's ready for Dad to reverse out. The tractor has now been removed from the back. A strop has been put on the side so that the tractor can pull it down as close to the fence as it can go. It probably could have gone a little bit further if things weren't in the way. Nevertheless, we think that there is enough room to swing it round. This time using two strops pulled together between the tow bar on the cart and the hitch on the tractor. Once again, Bernie pulls the dolly round so that it can be pivoted out of the spot. As it's being pulled round, Dad notices that a hanging cable could get caught on the wheel, so he moves it out the way to make sure it doesn't get broken. It will also save him having to fix it later in the week. Once it's pulled round enough, we remove the straps and get the tractor hitched directly up to the tow bar. And Chrissy's been given the short straw of getting the two straps apart after it's been pulling quite a bit of weight. But he does get there eventually. Once the tractor's hitched up to the tow bar, it can be pivoted around and pulled right up out of the way. And once it's out of the shed, you can see just how long this section of the cart is. Once that's out of the way, we can get the tug out of the shed. This one is the easiest bit for obvious reasons, but one difficulty that Dad does have as he's reversing it out of the shed
is that there are no mirrors on the tug, and all the cameras have been taken off, ready for the rebuild. So to reverse it out, he needs to look over his shoulder, and while he's looking down one side, we'll help him out by keeping an eye on the other side. Hopefully he will get it right, because his hearing isn't very good and he might not hear us if we shout. You can also see how little clearance we have at the top of the shed when we pull the cart out, and that's something you can't really see very well when the cart is built up. Then we move the tug right out of the way, because this will be the last thing going back into the shed. When the generator trailer was pulled out of the shed, it was turned round so that it can be pushed back into the shed. We also noticed a little incident that has happened to one of the rear lights. And by the sounds of it, somebody got a little bit overexcited when dismantling the cart from last year. Pulling the generator and the cart out was actually the easy job. Putting it back in is a little bit more tricky. The door is only a couple of foot wider than the cart, and there are wooden building gantries up above that need to be avoided. Bernie has been driving tractors all of his life and makes this difficult job look easy. It's actually very rare to see Bernie not smiling, so he must be concentrating. This time Bernie is pushing the generator trailer in with the front hitch on the tractor, which means he can see where the trailer's going a lot easier, and he just makes small adjustments with the steering to get the trailer in the right place. This trailer needs to be put to the back of the shed, where it will stay until Bridgewater Carnival Day. They unhitch it here and slowly drop the heavy bar down to the floor, and Bernie backs out to go and get the cart, which is the next trailer that needs to be put into the shed. They get the tow bar ready to put onto the front hitch of the tractor. Unfortunately, the drawbar will not lift up enough to put on the front hitch of the tractor, so the only option is for Bernie to turn around and back it in. This will most certainly be the most challenging bit of driving today. It's the longest section of the car, and where it's parked, it needs to be reversed 180 degrees into the shed, which means from this angle, Bernie can't even see the door that he's aiming for. At this point, he's just guesstimating where the back end needs to go. As you can imagine, this would be a lot harder if the cart was built up, so you can see why we wait until the cart is stripped down to turn it around. We've also been very lucky today with the weather, which makes a change as we haven't been so lucky on other years. Bernie just makes small adjustments with the wheels until the cart is lined up perfectly. The only problem now is that he doesn't have enough room at the front to swing the tractor around. As you can see, it's lined up perfectly with the door of the shed. We now unhitch the tractor and squeeze it through the gap. We will once again put a strop between the tow bar and the hitch on the back of the tractor. Then once again, the dolly can be pulled round so that it's in the right position to back it into the shed. Sometimes it may seem a bit tedious to have to do this, but with only a small space outside of the shed, it's the only way we're going to turn it round and get it back into the shed where it needs to be. Once the hitch has been pulled round, Bernie can back up and hitch up directly from the tractor to the tow bar. Each time the tractor is unhitched, a handbrake is put on, so it needs to be taken back off again. And even though the back of the trailer was lined up perfectly with the shed before, Bernie feels like it's easier to pull it right out and start again from scratch, which sometimes is a lot easier to get yourself lined up just right. Once again, Bernie makes it look easy and it's smoothly reversed back into the shed. Since Carnival last year, a lot has happened with Vagabonds Carnival Club. We had our AGM and welcomed some new members into the club. We've had lots of dinner and dances, including our own dinner and dance. There have been lots of meetings and planning for stage and for cart. We sold the old ERF that the club used to use for hauling the generator around between carnivals, because we find it more cost effective to use a tractor. And most importantly, the club has been doing a lot of fundraising. Carnival is completely voluntary and the money has to come from somewhere to build up these big carts. So we run our own catering and bar service and take part in a lot of stewarding. Now that the cart is being turned around today, the club can start spending some of that money raised to build the cart back up again. We need to get the cart dead central. This is so that the cart can be built up and the gantries won't be in the way. It will also make things a lot easier when we pull the cart out of the shed on Bridgewater Carnival Day. The cart will look completely different than it does now, and it will also look completely different than it did last year. I have seen this year's drawings, but every club keeps their idea top secret until Bridgewater Carnival. And I think that's why Bridgewater Carnival is so magical, because you're seeing their ideas put to life for the first time. Once the cart's back in the shed, we unhitch the tractor and we say goodbye to Bernie as he has to shoot off because he's a very busy farmer. The final piece to the puzzle is putting the tug back into the shed. Dad jumps in, pulls up and reverses it back round the corner. Once again, it's a little bit tricky without the mirrors and cameras, but we're all on hand to watch him back. Once again, it's important to get it dead central, as once it starts getting built up, you don't want the wooden gantries to be in the way. We've had a very productive day down here today and it hasn't taken us too long at all. We're now one step closer to Bridgewater Carnival 2025. Upstairs on the mezzanine floor, progress is already being made with shapes cut out, holders in place and shapes being blocked together. I'm not really sure what these shapes are for, but I'm sure it will all become clear as the cart gets built up. I don't think I've ever seen the club making stuff up like this in May. This here is all the old style bulb holders that we reuse every single year. You can often tell which part of the cart they were on by the colour. And these are the newer style household bulb holders. Each year we try to reuse as much as we can from the cart before. And from the mezzanine floor we can get out onto the gantry to work on the cart at height. That's it today down the cart. We've had a productive day turning the cart round, so I'm off home now. Hope you've enjoyed the little carnival catch up and turning the cart around. It was actually quite a good day to get down there. I'm going to get my stuff ready to get back to work tomorrow. Washing, shopping, all the boring stuff. Hope you've enjoyed it and thank you for watching. Don't forget you can get my merch at f28print.com.